Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Eat, and not just any episode. Today is another family dinner episode, and I know I say this at the beginning of maybe every single episode, but especially the family dinner episodes, but I am 110% certain that these are my favorite episodes. I love being able to just hit record. There's not a whole lot of thinking that has to go into these episodes, which for others, when I'm planning more topic-focused episodes, obviously I put some forethought into it and I plan a little bit. Sometimes it is just open-ended, which you can definitely tell from the nature of the episode, where I'm just like rambling and going on tangents. But if I feel passionate about something, I just want to be sure I get all my thoughts out. So that explains why I'm rambling and going on tangents. And I've gotten some feedback from some listeners who say, oh no, it's cohesive and it's structured. And in my head, I'm like, I really feel like it's not. So maybe they're just being nice to me. But either way, I hope whatever the case, in whatever topic it is, I get my point across and you get value from it and you enjoy listening. That is my hope. But with these episodes, it gives me an opportunity to really just open-endedly share on what's going on, what's the latest. I have some updates in different areas to share with you all, and family dinner is an opportunity for me to do just that. And I shared on social media the other day that I do tend to share more on the podcast than I do on social media, and podcast listeners also get inside scoops before I even share about it on social media. Even further, there's probably some things I will be, and I have shared on the podcast that I also haven't shared on social media. So this is the spot to be if you want the tea. All right. This is the spot to be if you want all the details. But as we come to the end of April, the end of Move More month, I might add, there are a lot of exciting things coming up in May and through the summer. So I'm excited to share a little bit more about these things in today's episode and let you know what I've been reading, what I'm loving, all the good things that come along with the family dinner episode. So thank you for being here. Welcome back to the table. Let's eat. Welcome to Let's Eat. I'm your host, Emily, certified holistic health coach, functional nutrition expert, and self-proclaimed wellness enthusiast, here to meet you at the intersection of physical and mental health, the space within which we become well. This podcast is meant to explore all areas of mind and body wellness, designed to offer you the integrative knowledge, behavioral strategies, and mindset shifts necessary to uplevel your health and feel better today. We'll explore nutrition, sleep, movement, self-care and stress management, habits and routines, self-development, gut health, mental health, and more. I am so happy that you're here. Welcome to the table. Let's eat. So where do I begin? First and foremost, today's episode's not going to have Q&A. I am putting together an episode in a few weeks that is a strictly Q&A episode. So it's going to be all sorts of questions that I've gotten from clients, that I've gotten from Instagram, that I've gotten in real life. And that is going to be a exclusively question-based episode where I just answer questions and talk about my thoughts on certain questions. So for anyone who might want to ask a particular question or is curious about something, please feel free to DM me, or I will put a question box on this episode as well, so you can ask through this episode. But it'll be all areas of wellness, both my personal wellness in general, my thoughts on certain trends, and I'm thinking I'll probably end up doing an episode like this every couple months, just because I feel like there are always questions, and I do get a lot of questions in my DMs, which I do answer in the moment. But maybe it's a question that you have had before and now I can answer it on a larger scale. So that is coming soon. But let's dive into what's been going on. So I've been teaching Pilates now since the end of January. So how many months is that? 3 months. And it's been a learning process all along the way, but something I have been loving so much. Honestly, don't know why I didn't do this sooner. And I'm so glad that I challenged myself in this way, because it has been a challenge and continues to be a challenge for sure. I am learning something new all the time. I'm forcing myself into uncomfortable spaces to grow and expand, and that's a part of learning something new and getting better at something new. And I've really enjoyed it, and I'm really, really excited to continue to become a stronger instructor. And I think I may have said this on the last family dinner episode, but I want to just reiterate that because I do feel so strongly about this. And I think as we move through Move More Month, I think while I like the community and the individuals I've gotten to meet, and just the fact that I get to move my body with a group of individuals and lead them in movement, I think that's so cool. But really, most importantly, I love that I get to inspire people to exercise and to move more. I try my very hardest to show that on social media and demonstrate how movement has become a part of my life, how it's become so commonplace and so much of a staple for me. But now being in the space that I'm in, I get to encourage and inspire and motivate in real time people and their relationships with movement and get to know them on a personal level to hopefully get them to come back. And, not because I want them, to come to my classes, but more just I want them to feel welcomed and I want them to feel warm and inspired and feel good coming to this space and coming to my classes so that movement is more accessible, because it would be miserable if somebody went to a class and didn't feel welcomed, didn't feel excited, didn't feel energized. That wouldn't make them want to come back. So a lot of it is how you make the person feel. That's a big belief system of mine. And exercise aside, if they feel they're welcomed and they feel that they had a good time or they were challenged or whatever the case is, there's a greater likelihood that they'll return, and that will then hopefully strengthen their relationship with movement and get them, more immersed in that, and that will subsequently improve their wellness and their health. And that is so cool to me. So that has really been another area that I've appreciated as I've been able to do this. And I'm just really excited to continue in this opportunity, in this position. And I'm definitely getting more comfortable. I remember the first couple weeks, I would stress around my class structure for a couple days. I'd run through it. I'd fine tune it. Now I'm feeling a little bit more, I would say a lot of bit more comfortable just kind of going for it. This past weekend or this past Friday, I took a 6 a.m. class and then was asked immediately following class to teach at 8 a.m. And I said, okay, yeah, sure, because I don't go into work until 11 when I'm bartending. So I went home and then I came back to the studio and I was able to teach a class kind of on the fly, we'll call it. And I was really impressed by myself because, like I said, back in January, I would spend all weekend long planning for my Monday morning class and really get in my head about it. And now I feel like I have a little bit more confidence and I trust myself a lot more to know how long the classes need to be, how to, incorporate different movements and challenge different areas of the body and make it a well-rounded class without feeling like I have to plan and prepare and lose my mind around it, which even the first couple weeks I had said to my mom, I'm like, I don't think I can do this if I'm going to be spending so much time planning and getting so in my head about the structure and what I'm doing and all that, right? I was like, this is a lot of mental energy that I'm devoting to this, but I'm so grateful that has kind of sailed. And now I can just, I'm still planning, but it's just not as time consuming for me to do that. And that's a sign of growth. So it has been so fun. And so I would even go as far as to say life-changing in just a couple months because I feel so aligned with this. And I said that to the owner and my boss, and I said I feel so much more aligned in this space because I'm doing something that is aligned with wellness and health, and I love it, and it's been so much fun. So that's all I have to say about that. I think I pretty much really drove the point home about how much it's been fun and challenging and growthful for me, and I can only imagine, the growth that will continue to come from it. So right now I'm teaching 2 classes a week. Moving into the end of May, I'll be teaching 3, and then I've just been filling in whenever necessary. So I think that's been a healthy progression for me. Like I said, had I taken on multiple classes at the start, it probably would have been far too overwhelming, but now I feel way more comfortable in doing what I'm doing, and so how it's unfolded has been ideal, I would say. And like I said, I'm taking on another class at the end of May and then filling in whenever it's needed. And I am right down the street from the studio, which makes it so much more convenient and accessible for me. So on Mondays when I teach at 9, I come home, I work for the remainder of the day, and then I go back to teach at 5:30. And it kind of gives me bookends, I guess you could say. Whereas, coming home from the 9 o'clock class, it's kind of just, all right, open-ended until the evening, and then I go to bed for work because I don't have the strongest boundaries with my workday. But it's been nice knowing, okay, at 4:45, that's when I have to stop, and then I go teach. And so it gives me that window of time where I feel like my head's in the game and I can really focus. Whereas if I have a day where it's just, all the time in the world and there's really no structure to it, it's harder for me to buckle down and focus, if that makes sense. So yes, it's been a lot of fun. And if you're interested, I'd love for you to come to a class if you're in the area, and you can check out their website. I'll put the link in the show notes so you can go ahead and schedule a class there. There is a free trial, so you can give it a go and see if it's for you, but I'd love to have you. So I hope to see you there. Next, let's talk about functional lab testing. So I am excited. I just passed my first exam yesterday. I have been in this kind of limbo right now, which is obviously a little bit frustrating, but it is what it is. Because essentially how the process works is I complete the tests that I will be offering clients. I complete them on myself. Yep, on myself. I complete it on myself, and I submit those tests in order to then get results for me to sit with a mentor or somebody within the program who's, certified to review the results and start a protocol of my own. So I'm really excited because obviously sitting with my own results, looking at the tests that I will be administering, it will help me really understand the tests a lot better when I'm able to look at my own results and walk through it with a practitioner. Now, I also just did a functional program last year, so I have mixed feelings around it because while it's going to be beneficial to my learning, I feel like I also still just recently did testing like this. I'm also in the middle of a protocol for my last program. So it kind of makes it a little bit redundant, I guess. But I'm sure I will see a lot on these tests that either were overlooked or weren't tested for in the last program. And it's still going to be a valuable learning opportunity nonetheless. So essentially what I was saying is I completed my first exam yesterday only out of request because I technically can't proceed with the testing process until I've reviewed my results for my own labs with a practitioner. So that's kind of the barrier that I'm at right now because I have to wait until I have that session with an individual to review my lab results so that I can then proceed with the testing process. So at this point in time, the curriculum's completely done. My ambition that it would be early May for me to start this is now no longer accurate. It's going to be a couple more weeks beyond that, which I'm obviously frustrated by, but these are factors that are essentially out of my control, and I have to just be patient with the process, and all I can do right now is prepare. So as soon as I have those results, I can sit down with a practitioner, review them, and then proceed with the testing process as it's laid out. And I have about 5 or 6 exams in front of me to follow, most of which are oral exams. So it's about, having like a role play with a imagined client and going over exam results, lab results, and then a written exam, and then a final oral exam, and then I'll be done. So it's a little bit of a delay, but it's still moving and grooving nonetheless, and I'm doing everything in my power now to prepare so that when I am able to proceed, I can. So that is the update there. And I have quite literally been eat, breathe, sleep this course material. I have been listening, and absorbing and writing and typing, and luckily there are a number of resources for us as trainees to turn to really get this, but it's just the time that you put in order to do that. And it's a blessing and a curse because there's an abundance of options to refer to and resources and calls that you can tune into and all of that. But then also it feels like, oh my God, where do I even start with all of this? Because it's just so much. Even, there's just so much. There's a lot. And so I'm looking at it from okay, take it one test at a time, focus on what you're going to be tested for on the first exam. We call it practicals. So on the first practical, what are you being tested for? What are you looking at? And then kind of break it down that way and kind of take it slow and steady, just because there is a lot. Everyone says that it all comes together. That's what, there's a Facebook group of trainees and everyone's like, don't worry, it all comes together. It all comes together, which I believe that it will. But right now it just feels like very, very overwhelming because it's just a lot of information and every person is so different. So there's no one size fits all to it. And so I have complete faith in myself and I already feel so much more secure in the material than maybe I did a month ago or 4 months ago. But it's now just about putting it all together and then being able to guide someone in their own test results and really be able to regurgitate, I guess, all of this material to be able to explain to someone what exactly is going on while looking at their results. And then from there, it's about guiding them in a protocol. So that is the update on FDN. I'm thinking about, and this is something that I have been thinking about for a little while, there's another course that other practitioners have taken that are really complementary to the FDN course. So I'm thinking possibly come the end of the summer, I might enroll in that as well to expand my testing capabilities and to be able to become a little bit more well-versed in other tests and other labs that exist out there. So that's something I have kind of toyed with because I think, I think it's a good next step. You're probably thinking, Emily, relax, take some time off. Maybe. We'll see. I think in my head, this one is a little bit less, actually a lot a bit less intensive, and it's more of kind of like an add-on or like complementary to the program I just did. So it wouldn't necessarily be as time consuming as what I've committed to now. And it would just be a nice addition as I get into testing to expand a little bit and be able to offer more of a comprehensive opportunity for healing for clients. So that's kind of something I toyed with. I've also toyed with a continuing education credit or certification for something fitness related. And I'm thinking about that just to really widen my knowledge outside of just what I did for the Pilates certification. So we'll see. I am a forever student. You all know that. I'm constantly wanting to learn and expand. And I know I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I haven't finished this certification. But now that the curriculum's done, I'm thinking, okay, what would enhance? What would be the best next step to expand my expertise and to expand my knowledge, whether it's fitness related, it's testing related, and that will be determined come the fall. So we'll say the fall. I don't want to say, this summer by any means. I think I want to really get comfortable in what I'm doing as far as the testing goes, and then come the end of the summer, I can determine, okay, what makes the most sense for me? Is this necessary? Do I want to pursue this? And then how to go about that. So that is the update there. If you are interested in testing, however, I do want to mention this. If you're interested in testing, the link to sign my inquiry form is in the show notes. I've had a lot of interest and I'm very excited for that. And this is essentially a way for you to get information as soon as it becomes available. So I've been sending out, I will be sending out emails. I sent one out 2 weeks ago, I think, or a week and a half ago maybe. And I'll plan to send out one this week at some point as an update, but it's not I'm locked in and now I have to do the testing. It's just an opportunity for you to get more information about it, because I know that these individuals who are on this list are interested in learning more, as opposed to spamming all of my subscriber list and my social media with it. It gives an opportunity for you to exclusively get the information. So you can join that list in the show notes. I will go ahead and send you the email I sent 2 weeks ago if in fact you do join the list, so you can keep up to date on the emails that I've sent out previously. And then if you ever have any questions, you can always let me know. I am in celebration of Move More Month. My goal was to get more steps in, which has been kind of hit or miss. It's been a little intermittent. The weather has kind of been questionable, but I did just open my walking pad. So my walking pad is now in my living room with my standing desk, and I am getting comfortable with it, and it's been so much fun. Now, of course, the weather is now just getting better and improving, and it's going to be 75 degrees today, so walking outside is definitely preferred, but I highly recommend a walking pad for anyone who wants to get more steps in or is trying to be more proactive about their movement. It is a wonderful investment. It is very user-friendly. It can be easily stored, and yesterday I walked for 40 minutes and I did 2 miles. And it was like nothing. I was focused on my computer. I was doing whatever I was doing. And it was the easiest 2 miles I think I've ever walked. So highly recommend. It's a great invention. Very happy that they exist. In other news, I went to meet the litter of puppies last weekend. And they are 3 weeks old. They were 3 weeks old last weekend. They are now 4 weeks old. And 2 weeks... I'm getting my dates mixed up. Let's just say in 2 weeks, depending on when you're listening to this, beginning of May, we'll say, I'm going back to pick out my little girl. Now, there are 8 females, and I get first pick. So it is going to be nothing less than a challenge to sit with 8 golden retrievers and decide which one is for me. Just think about that. Just sitting on the grass or on the ground and having 8 golden retriever puppies running around, and I have to decide which singular one is for me. I'm in for it, and I might end up taking them all. I'm like that, like Melissa McCarthy in Bridesmaids, where she took all the puppies home from the wedding. But this is exciting, and I officially take her home May 18th, so that will be 2 weeks after, and I am currently in the preparing for puppy phase, which I've done before, and I think about, oh my God, I said this to someone else the other day. I said, well, if I could do this when I was 22, there's no doubt I can do it when I'm 30, I think about how I got Lou at 22, and I handled it and I made it happen. So who's to say I can't do it now? I think I'm just having a little bit of all right, I've been spoiled having Lou being as well behaved as she is and potty trained and just so good. And now bringing in a new friend who needs to be trained, and I'm excited for it all. But of course there's still those all right, this is definitely going to be an adjustment type of energy. So I'm really excited. They're so, so sweet, so cute. And of course, at 3 weeks old, they're sleeping and standing up and kind of wobbling around. But other than that, they're not doing very much. So it'll be at 6 weeks that I'll be able to pick her out. I did pick out Lou at 4 weeks, I believe she was. So I'm excited to go back and be able to choose. And that will really kind of make it real. But right now I'm thinking, I have to get a crate. I have to get her a collar. I have all the things that I'm thinking back is all the things I bought when Lou was a puppy, and what's necessary, what's not really necessary. All of those things that a puppy requires. Also on this note, I'm looking into the real food subscriptions that are out there for dogs. Luckily, they are becoming more and more popular. I think the most popular one is the Farmer's Dog, and I'm going to look into that a little bit more closely, looking at the ingredients and kind of understanding the product a little bit more. But what's most important to me is I'm determining what is most cost effective, because this is absolutely an investment and I am definitely open and willing to make it. But if making my own food for her makes more sense, if I set aside one day every month to say, all right, this is my food prepping day for her, the puppy that is not yet named, I would do that because it makes more sense from a financial perspective to just do it. And so I want to do some kind of number crunching, if you will. Is that what they say? Crunching numbers to see what does make the most sense, where I can buy food in bulk. I don't have a Costco membership right now, but I'm thinking about getting one. And I think that probably would be the best spot for me to just bulk buy either meat or chicken or whatever it is, and then have a day where I just prep it, freeze it, and then I take out meals every week, we'll say, and that's, ready to rock for her. I do know the time commitment is obviously there too. So the farmer's dog, say for example, might make more sense, but either way, I am looking in this direction and going to avoid kibble at all costs. So I will keep you updated. I will be recording an episode of the podcast all about holistic pet care because I've really taken a dive into this world and it's really opened my eyes. And I think I may have mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but it's really opened my eyes to pet care and the pet care industry. And so as I'm reading this book, and which I'll mention later on when I'm talking about books, but as I'm reading this book and as I am really understanding more of how holistically we can take care of our animals, I am more inspired and more motivated to speak on this more and then also take this opportunity to take care of my next golden with a little bit more intention in this department. And this is all in honor of my Lou because obviously I took care of her probably from like more of a holistic standpoint than the average pet owner does, but certainly not to the extent that I could have. And not to say I'm blaming myself for anything or, guilty for feeling guilty for anything at all. I think there's probably a little bit of that just because you just have to always wonder what went wrong, but I'm not going to let that consume me. I'm just going to focus on how can I learn and do better next time. So an episode is coming on that, but I'm also going to share about the realities of this type of investment and compare different companies from a quality standpoint, but then also from a financial standpoint and give you my honest opinion about what is worth it, whose brand do I trust the most and what makes the most sense as far as from a cost and a time approach or perspective. How have I been doing? I have that as like a bullet point here. How have I been doing? I've been okay. I think I may have mentioned this on, I forget, maybe it was the last family dinner episode. I did get Lou's ashes back. I may have mentioned this already. So that was pretty hard. That felt really hard, especially just because it just feels so cold and not, I'm saying just like the experience feels cold and I want to do something with them. I haven't yet decided. I have to look into what my options are as far as this type of like what people do aside from putting them in a box and whatnot. But I've definitely been feeling a little bit more consistent, I would say, than I did the past couple months. And there's less the ebbs and flows and it's more steady, but still obviously missing her and having my moments. And I mean, I think having this puppy to look forward to has been bittersweet, but it's also, it doesn't replace her, right? It's not the intent, but it's just about moving forward. And so I'm hopeful that she sends me the right puppy in a couple weeks. As corny as that might be, I feel like that is something that makes me feel better, is knowing that whoever does come home with me is going to be sent by her because, I'm going to get emotional now, is going to be sent from her because she knows who I need most. And yeah, so, and I know she would have been the best big sister, and I just, ebbs and flows. I just said, no, it's been more steady. This is, just kidding, joke's on me. I know that she would have been the best big sister, and so I know she'll send me the little sister that she would have wanted. So I apologize for getting emotional there. I actually had to stop recording because I had to go into session. Now I'm back, and I think it was probably a blessing in disguise because I wouldn't have been able to get out that sentence, and I would have been very teary getting out that sentence. So we took a break, took a breath, and now we're back. So thank you for bearing with me on that one. But yes, in a couple weeks, she will be coming home. So I am getting my home ready for her arrival and thinking of names and getting arrangements made and all that good stuff. I'm also in the process of finding a holistic / more functional vet. And so I want to be sure I have that figured out before she comes home because I'm going to have to bring her for vaccines and all that. So that is underway. And then in a couple weeks, I will have a podcast episode where I'm exploring this topic in much greater depth. And I'm hopeful that it brings you value because this is so important. If you're a dog owner, if you plan to become a dog owner, this is information that is not something that's talked about enough, and it simply needs to be. So, in other exciting news, I'm officially going to be stepping back from bartending one shift a week. For those of you who don't know, I am a part-time bartender. I have been for 12 years now. I've been in the service industry since I was 14 or 15. So do the math there. I've been in the service industry longer than I have been. More of my life I've been in the service industry than the amount of time that I haven't. Oh my goodness, what am I trying to say here? More of my life I've spent in the service industry than I haven't been. You guys know what I'm trying to say here. Okay, I started at 14, I'm 30, so do the math. All right. I am dropping a shift from the bar. This might not seem like a big deal, but it really is for me. I have been lucky to bartend through my associate's degree, through my bachelor's degree, through my master's degree, and beyond. I love where I work, and I feel so lucky to have been there as long as I have and to develop the relationships that I have within the staff, but also within the customer basis. And I don't think I realized how much this role would change my life when I first started. And I mean that in like no exaggeration. I started at this spot when I was 18 and not going into it thinking that this would be something I would be doing long term. I certainly didn't think I would be bartending. But so much of my life has changed because of this role. I mean, relationships, both personal, romantic, and friendships and networking opportunities, people I've met, individuals who have impacted my life in a certain way. I mean, the list goes on. There's just so many ways this space has changed my life. So I'm not leaving necessarily, but I am stepping back, and it was a decision that was made because I just feel like I'm at a time in my business now where I can do that, and not necessarily from like a financial standpoint, if I'm fully transparent, but more just from I don't have enough hours in the day anymore. And it's funny because when I first started my business, so I was working at a private practice, I was bartending, and I was working for myself. And when I finally resigned from the private practice and I started working for myself, I found myself not being able to fill my time and not being able to fill my day. And I remember thinking, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what is there to do? I didn't have a whole lot of clients at the time. I wasn't doing as many projects. The podcast didn't exist. I wasn't working for the university. I wasn't working on certifications necessarily. And I was like, what am I supposed to do with my time? And I knew in time this will change. In time, I'm going to have plenty of things to do. I'll have more structure to my day. I just have to keep moving forward. And so that I did. I just kept moving forward. And now I'm finding that Monday through Wednesday just is not enough time for me to do the things that I need to do. It's just not. And I am so grateful for that. I feel I am continuing to get closer and closer to the schedule and the work structure, I guess we'll say. I don't really know what the right word is here. That is ideal for me between Pilates and taking clients and then the work that I'm doing otherwise, whether it's content creation or the work I'm doing for the university or the podcast. It really is the perfect blend of all the things that I love that all have to do with wellness, and I'm able to do it every day. And I feel so incredibly lucky for that. But I am not for any minute forgetting the work that I put in to get to this space. I mean, even to this day, I'm not where I want to be. And this isn't me trying to go off about my dreams and whatnot, but I'm not where I want to be yet from a business and, from that standpoint, but I'm certainly much farther along than where I was. And I feel so lucky for that. And so that's part of the reason why I am stepping back, but it's also in an effort to really establish more of a work-life balance, because what I was finding is, I work Fridays until about 5, usually not home until about 6. And then I go back into the restaurant and work Saturdays until same 5 or 6. And then I was finding Sundays were my day to either I would be working. Most Sundays I've been working either at the restaurant or for myself. And I was kind of just scrambling around to either do errands or grocery shop or clean or whatever the case was. And then I would be into the week, and then it'd be Monday, and then I'd be back into the groove of things. And this worked for a while, but then I looked back and I realized I'm not doing life. I'm not living life. I'm spending the days that I have off catching up for the days that I don't have off. And don't get me wrong, being a business owner, you're working all the time, really, until you really establish some boundaries or you're able to step back a little bit. But realistically, a lot of entrepreneurship is work. And so I was feeling like this was what was taking place. So with a lot of thought, I decided, all right, this is the step that I need to take for myself, especially now having the puppy, and just deciding I need to do this for my business, but then I also need to do it for myself. So it's in an effort to establish more of a work-life balance so that I'm able to be social and see my friends and do more on the weekends. But then also it opens up more space for me to focus on my business. And that's really what I want, is to be full-time in my business, of course. So it's about a multitude of different things. So it's allowing me to be a little more social if I want to be, but it also gives me more time to focus on my business. That's really the goal. So I am going to be picking up a Pilates class on Saturdays. So that's exciting because I am not opposed to working on Saturdays, because I'm probably considered a workaholic. I don't know if I should self-diagnose here, but it's not so much. I was just having this conversation with the Pilates studio owner yesterday. I'm like, I just love my business so much, and I just love doing what I do, and I love talking about it. And she's like, yeah, I get it. Me too. I'm like, okay, good. I'm not alone here. I just love the work that I do, and I love health, and I love talking about wellness and helping people. And so it's hard to detach from that. So I will be starting to teach on Saturdays, which is exciting. And then I have the day to do what I want to do, whether that's not do anything or clean or whatever the case is. Just having that ability feels really liberating. And I haven't had this opportunity in years. I've been working Saturdays since before the pandemic, I want to say, or through the pandemic and then after. So for at least 5 years, I've been working on Saturdays. And so I'm looking forward to kind of taking this next step in life. I did mention back in December, I remember this is just coming to mind, when my family dinner episode, I think in December, was about making more time for me and making more time for my life outside of work. And it's amazing because I said that in December. I did say I wanted to make more time for Lou, which that's so heartbreaking to think about now. But that was something I said, was just being more intentional about that. And so this is a way for me to do that. That is what's most important to me, is setting boundaries with myself, that it isn't all about work and it isn't all about, the hustle, and that I can give myself the time to just be Emily and just be 30 and just be a human. And that's okay. So not to dump all this on you, my apologies, but this is really my incentive there, and I'm really excited. So May 17th is my final Saturday at the restaurant. I'm certainly going to be filling in. I am also going to be doing private events, not like advertising and making a business out of it necessarily, but I'm going to be bartending a wedding in June, and I am kind of open to that now that I have more time on the weekends, because they can be really great opportunities. And they also have such a big customer basis that it doesn't happen all the time, but when people are looking for a bartender, I feel I have a reputation that people can vouch for and rely on around bartending. That's something that I would also do. I mean, a couple summers ago, I was doing it like every other weekend. I mean, for whatever reason, it just happened where I was, bartending. I bartended down the shore. Then the following weekend, I bartended a party locally. Like, it just kind of happened that way. So open to them. They can be extremely exhausting. Don't get me wrong. I did a wedding not last June, 2 Junes ago, maybe 3 Junes ago. And it was exhausting. It's exhausting, but it's totally worth it from like a financial end. So that's also something that I'm looking into doing more of, just as kind of a way to supplement and do something a little different. So all in all, I feel so excited for these next few months. Obviously, the warmer weather helps with that, but I feel as though I'm getting closer and closer to really the rhythm that I have been yearning for and desiring for myself and my relationship with work for so many years. And I'm just looking forward to it. I feel I am exactly where I'm meant to be. If you couldn't tell, I love doing this. So if you couldn't tell, this is in fact my passion. So I feel so lucky for that, but it's not without hard work. I think that is something that I'm very proud of myself for, is my persistence and my consistency with this, where building a business and doing all of this is not something that any person can just do. I think anyone can if they really want it, but it's also not easy, and you have to be willing to put in that work. And that is something I'm very proud of. And I'm not sitting here saying, oh, I'm the best, I know it all, because I definitely am doing business wrong in probably a number of ways, right? However, I feel so lucky that I felt so strongly about something that I said, nope, this is my only option. There is no way for me to not succeed at this. There's no way for me to not do this, because this is what I want, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm meant for. So however I have to figure that out, I'm going to figure it out. And I'm still figuring it out. Don't get me wrong. Hopefully a year from now, I'll say, no, remember last April when I said I was figuring it out? I figured it out. I think that maybe never will come, because I think there's probably constant evolution that takes place, and there's always learning and there's always growing. But for me specifically, I just feel very lucky to be in this position, to be where I am, and to say that I've done it all on my own, because I have done it all on my own. And I just look forward to the people will continue to be able to help, and the change that can be made in people's lives. And it's really exciting. It's really, really exciting. So I'm so happy that you're here, and I appreciate you listening. And I hope that if you have been a follower of mine since the start, you have seen the journey. I mean, it has been a journey, to say the least. And I'm so grateful to have such loyal followers for as long as I have. And if you're new to the scene, if you're new to the table, welcome. But take it from me, it has been a journey, and it continues to be a journey, but I'm happy you're here either way. And I'm just getting started here. I'm just getting started in this space, and in the goals that I have for myself and the ambitions. And I'm happy to have you along. So it is Move More month. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but because last week's episode definitely touched on this, but move more. That's all I got to say. Go move more. It's not about exercising more. It's just about moving more, doing more, getting outside more, taking more walks, doing squats while you're cooking dinner, parking across the parking lot, taking the steps instead of the escalator or the elevator. Move more. Move more this month, move more next month. I think the summertime is the time of year that is most conducive to moving more. Go move more. Next, books. Let's talk about books. Okay, this is a little bit of a sore spot for me, because I have a problem. I myself am the problem. I need to stop buying books before I finish other books. I have so many books that I am midway through, and I continue to buy new books. So I have a book that is in an Amazon box on my entryway table. I am saying this out loud so that you can hold me accountable to it. I'm not going to open that box to start that book until I have finished 3 others that I have to finish. Okay? So I will update you next family dinner episode so that this is me holding myself accountable, because I just cannot. I also pre-ordered 2 books. 2 of the women in like the entrepreneurial self-development spaces conveniently are releasing books within 2 weeks of each other. So thanks for doing that to me. So I had to order both. I pre-ordered both back in January. One is coming out this week, and another's coming out next week or 2 weeks. So both of those are on their way as well, because I pre-ordered them. Of course I did, because I had to, because I love both of them. So I needed to read their books. So those are coming too. And then what else? Yeah, I have a couple books. And so my general goal here is to make more time to read. I feel like I say that every episode. So someone hold me accountable to that, because I just don't, and I should. Especially because I'm over here like buying books as if I'm like reading like ravenously all the time, and I'm like not doing that. So I'm just building up book debt. We'll call it that, book debt, and I'm not reading them. So now that it's getting nicer, I can sit on my deck and I can read. So someone hold me accountable to that. Don't let me open the box that's on my entryway table. And what I'm actually reading right now is The Forever Dog, which is all about holistic pet care. So this is going to be the basis of the episode. So I have to really get through this one because I'm recording an episode about it. So that is what's holding me accountable to it. I'm also reading the book How to Menopause, because I have been inundated with perimenopausal and menopausal questions and clients. And this is an area that's just not addressed well enough in our healthcare. So I'm doing what I can to really immerse myself in the research and the literature around it so that I can be most effective and helpful. Another book that is in the box on my entryway table has to do with menopause as well, so I'll hold off on that one. And then the two books that are coming shortly, those are about personal development and self-growth, which I love those books. I love genres. I love that type of genre. And then, I mean, go listen to every family dinner episode for the past 6 months, and probably I'm still reading those books too. So, yeah. So I have to put them all. This is going to be my homework assignment. I'm going to take all the ones that are unfinished and put them in a pile, and then I'm just going to chip away with them. That's what I'm going to do, because at this rate, they're scattered all around my home, and I need to just buckle down and read and finish and get through them. So this is me holding myself accountable to that. So that's what I'm reading. Podcasts are about the same. Nothing really new there, I would say. All about the same shows, tuning in on my walks, on my drives. And then what I'm loving, let's talk quickly about what I'm loving. Activewear from Old Navy. That is literally the only thing I have on my list right now of what I'm loving. Activewear from Old Navy. I have been buying new activewear because I'm teaching now, so I see it as a business investment or a work investment. And I have been loving Old Navy's activewear. Old Navy is such an underrated spot. I love it. Now, is it like optimal quality? No, but I'm not about to spend $100 on a piece of, fabric that I'm going to end up washing too many times and it's going to ruin the quality, right? Like I just can't justify it. So activewear from Old Navy. I am trying to branch out though and find some other brands that I like that are affordable, that fit well. I have more trouble with bottoms than I do with sports bras. So I feel like I have to find bottoms that are comfortable, that aren't sliding down, especially with my body shape. So that is something that I've been loving for sure. I've also been loving, I just remember this, my post-workout matcha. Okay, something about the combination of working out and then having my matcha, which takes some self-control, don't get me wrong. It's just the best. I mean, the endorphins are flowing, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling strong, and then to have a matcha and just enjoy it and savor it after my workout, it's a good one. So that has been something I've been doing, and I highly recommend. Not to mention, having caffeine after a workout or after waking is actually better for the way caffeine interacts with the body. So giving yourself like a 90 to 120 minute window to wait on caffeine has been shown to be better for caffeine use in the body. We'll say, the way it impacts the body, more sustained energy throughout the day and so forth. So I'm kind of inadvertently doing that just because I want the experience of having it after my workout, but highly recommend. And I think I can't say, I love my walking pad, I do, but I will say the weather is becoming more consistent. So I think preemptively what I will say is what I will be loving is going for walks again in the warmth. That is something I'm very excited for. And I'm also very excited to have my little golden retriever with me going for walks too. If she's anything like Lou was a little bit of a troublemaker on the leash. She did not like being on the leash, and she would lay down every couple steps and I'd be like, you're a dog. You should be able to walk on a leash with me by my side. What's going on? So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But that whole process of training, I'm looking forward to that, especially with the weather being nicer. We can be outside and, it's just exciting. It's exciting to have that to look forward to. And what else am I loving? I'm just loving this season of life with work and what I'm doing and getting up every day and feeling excited about it. So I'm just feeling very lucky and feeling very grateful. And I'm most excited to finish my testing so that I can start functional lab testing. I think that's going to be transformative, especially over the summer as I dive into this new energy. I mean, even yesterday during my exam, it felt so strange to be talking about this whole new practice and the new work that I've been doing, but I have been feeling a little stagnant lately in my business. So it feels good to have this as a refresher and to start something new and really amplify my work. And I know it's going to be super rewarding. It's going to bring its challenges, absolutely. And there's going to be a lot of learning still involved, but mostly it'll be really, really life-changing for all the people that I work with. It'll be life-changing for me. And that's what I want to do. I want to change lives. That's what I'm here for. So thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Eat. And not only Let's Eat Family Dinner. I am stoked for May. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, for those of you who don't know. So many of the episodes in this upcoming month are going to be centered around mental health. If you want, you can go listen to last year's episodes of the podcast. Every episode in May had to do with mental health. So that is something you can go ahead and take a listen to if you're interested. There's some guests coming on the show and just looking forward to this next season ahead. So thank you again for being here. I will see you next time and be well.